This is the first meeting of the Programming Committee for 2022, and it takes place against the devastating backdrop of the recent fire on the precinct. The damage to our chamber and other spaces where we gather to do our work has left us deeply saddened. However, as much as the spaces and symbols mean to our democracy, it is still us as members and elected representatives of our people who are the cornerstone of what constitutes Parliament. In this respect, I've held meetings with chief whips and leaders of parties to discuss various options for how we continue our work beyond this. These discussions have included issues around appropriate spaces for the convening of not only the forthcoming joint sitting for the State of the Nation address, but also for future sittings of the National Assembly. I've taken much courage from the commitment expressed by all chief whips and party leaders to rise above our collective loss and continue to fulfill our constitutional mandate and the work of our Parliament. The purpose of today's meeting, therefore, colleagues, is to consider the immediate issues that will enable the Assembly and Parliament at large to stay the course and ensure that our oversight mandate is not compromised. At this point, honorable members, I would like to check from the Secretariat whether there are any apologies.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. We have received no apologies, ma'am, at this point.
No apologies. Thank you very much, Mr. Kaso. We now proceed to consider the agenda. Honorable members, those are the 8 items on the agenda. Are we happy with the agenda? If we are, then I propose that it be adopted.
Honorable Speaker, I see the
Honorable Kalipi.
And Yabulada Speaker, no, the agenda is business as usual. But your opening remarks, Madam Speaker, I think we need to get a clarity here. Since we are going back to Parliament and it's look like that is business as usual. But we need a clarity from you as the head of the institution, just to take us into confidence about what happened into Parliament and when are we going to get a comprehensive report about the status of Parliament, what happened, where are we going to get that comprehensive report as political parties, and also the public. I think they must know what is happening in terms of what happened that day and what is Parliament doing in terms of ensuring that that situation is not going to occur again. Thank you, Speaker.
Sorry? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Kalipi. Yeah. There's a proposal from Honorable Kalipi for us to add an item on a report of what happened, the status report, let me say, on the developments in Parliament. Honorable member who is on the phone, please will you mute? Thank you very much. May we please adopt the agenda, of course, with the amendments and or additions from Honorable Kalipi. I see the hand.
I move for the adoption. I move for the adoption with that additional item on the update on the status of Parliament.
Thank you very much, Honorable Machodina. That helps us. Agenda having been adopted, we now look into the minutes, Honorable Member. If it is people have read the minutes, I'm assuming, shall we then adopt the minutes of the meeting, the previous meeting of the 2nd of December? Honorable Machontina, will you please lower that hand so that I know that it's an old hand?
It's not. You said we must
A new one.
must adopt. It's a new hand. I'm moving for adoption of minutes, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Speaker, I will second that adoption.
Thank you very much, Honorable Singh. Honorable members, minutes having been adopted and seconded, we now deal with matters arising from the minutes. Now, honorable members, we start with the Constitutional Court deadline for the Electoral Act of 1998, Act number 73 of 1998. Honorable members would know that the bill was introduced on the 10th of January 2022, and it has since been referred to the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs. The second matter is that of the report on second language text of acts. The Bill's Office has provided a report on the second language text of acts. This report has been circulated to all members. The third matter, which is a matter arising out of the minutes, is the Security Task Team, which is a multi-party team. The intention was to establish the task team when Parliament reconvened in 2022, and this matter will now be fast-tracked. Of course, Honorable Member, this is a very serious matter now. In fact, it's as though we were predicting that which will happen this year on the 2nd of January, when at the meeting of the 2nd of December, a decision was taken that we fast-track this process. So, honorable members, we have no time to waste. We really have to quickly convene this meeting, put it together and convene the meeting so that the meetings begin in earnest. I don't know, honorable members, if there's any other matter from the agenda, which arising from the agenda, which I have left out. Other than now moving to request a report from the committee section. Yes, Honorable Singh.
Swat.
Honorable Swat, I'm sorry.
Good morning, Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. Arising from your brief reflection on the minutes, I am concerned about the Constitutional Court deadline, and there was reference in the minutes to a possibility and a proposal from the majority party to look at an ad hoc committee. I think the deadline is looming, and I think this is an issue we need to look into or get feedback at the next meeting as to whether that proposal will be forwarded a possible ad hoc committee. You referred to the Home Affairs Committee that is presently dealing with it, but that is something we need to possibly attend to. The second issue, of course, is the security and parliament, which you correctly indicated is a very serious matter now. But clearly, with hindsight, it seems now that it's to be too little too late. But that having been said, I do obviously support this ongoing engagement. But sadly, hindsight is always perfect sight. And had we taken up all of our responsibilities in this manner, maybe the devastating fire could have been avoided. But that is, of course, historical. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Singh, Honorable Swat, and now Singh. I see the hand of Honorable Singh.
Yeah, Swat and Singh always get confused, Honorable Speaker. So I forgive you. It's not from now, it's a long time. No, I just want to agree. Thank you very much. Good morning. Compliments to everybody. I just want to agree that with the Security Committee, perhaps we need to decide on the composition so that that work can start, that committee can start in earnest. And I would like to suggest that every political party have a representative, because it's such an important committee that's dealing with all of us, and probably the administration can come up with a suggestion of how because we're not going to be voting or anything, but just come up with the composition of the committee so we can start our work in earnest. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Singh. Honorable Members, there is a proposal on the table, and I want to leave it to you, Mr. Klaso, to bring us a report to the next meeting of the of the National Assembly Programming Committee next week, where there are clear names after consulting with parties, and then names of people who will then form part of that security task team. Mr. Klaso, I see you have your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We certainly will do that, ma'am. I just want to confirm, because the previous decision was that the committee would consist of 6 members. Should I now take it that the decision is that all parties must be represented?
Honorable members, there's a matter of clarity here provided by Mr. Klaso, which is that initially a decision was taken that the committee would consist of 6 people. And I tend to support that, because if we are going to have a big committee, it may as well not function and as quickly and as efficient as we would want it to, particularly because this is a matter related to the security of Parliament. So if it had been agreed earlier on that we should have 6 members forming part of this committee, maybe we should go back to that decision, honorable members. Do we have a problem with? Would you have a problem, Honorable Singh, with that?
Speaker Swati.
Honorable Speaker, given the gravity of the situation on the 2nd of January, we'd rather err on the side of having too many more people, because it'll be just a few more. That's just my view. Than not having certain political parties represented. And I feel they should be invited, and we take it from there, because we don't want parties working through other parties and coming up. For example, perhaps in a certain section of the building, some parties have their offices and others don't. So I'm just appealing to us just to relook at it. I have no particular problem with the decision we took, but can we just relook at it practically? I see Mr. Swat wanted to say something.
Thank you very much, Honorable Singh. I now invite Honorable Bahube.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Perhaps you can indulge me here. What was the rationale and sort of the criteria that was going to be used for the 6 members? I agree with you. A committee that perhaps has entirely too many people making decisions concurrently may be counterproductive. But at the same time, I think Honorable Singh does raise a point that now the importance of this committee has now since become incredibly urgent. And so perhaps you can indulge me, as I wasn't here last year, to understand what the criteria was going to be of the 6 members, so that we can then perhaps see how we can augment it if necessary. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kwahube. I now invite Honorable Lichisa.
Good morning, Madam Speaker, and good morning, members.
Good morning, Honorable Lichisa. Long time no see.
Absolutely.
Yes, member.
Okay. No, I just wanted to suggest that I think I agree with a view that suggests perhaps because of the current immediate issue, that it might be appropriate to work together as a slightly larger collective, but only for temporary purposes, so that we establish the principles of the work, the rules by which this work must be done, and the reporting responsibility and requirements over a long time. And once those elements are established and a path has been identified, then we can reduce the number of people. I agree that perhaps because of the nature of the current crisis, it might be appropriate that we broaden its original intention of being a smaller team to be more mobile. And there are certain things about security that should not be done publicly. If it is to be security, as I understand it, So some things like those might require that we agree to proceed with a slightly broader number of members of political parties to establish the work and the nature of the work and the reporting requirements and regularity, and then reduce that number properly. Part of the processes must be to go back to making them smaller. The number, I'm not married to any number right now, but it can be to all of the 14 members of political parties. It will not be workable in the medium to long term, but in the short term, 3 months or so, it could do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Lechisa. My last speaker on this matter, and we now proceed, will be Honorable Swart.
Speaker, very briefly, I support you with having at least 6 members and then optional for other members that may wish to join. I don't think we should make it compulsory for all political parties. So at least then those parties that particularly wish to join should have the option to join. But I think one's got to keep it streamlined as well and balance that with the need for those that want to attend. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Swart. Honorable members, in my summary, I now advise that for a start, we have a big committee which will develop terms of reference for the smaller committee, which task team which will establish, which will work together with the presiding officers on matters relevant to the security of Parliament. So for a start, we will have a big committee which will be constituted by all members, by all parties, 1 member per party, after which, from that meeting, having determined now the terms of reference of that committee, we will then form a smaller committee, a committee which was agreed upon originally of 6, which will then take the process forward. I hope that is agreed to, honorable members, as I proceed to invite the committee section, Advocate Dau, to give us a report on the work of committees. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good morning, and good morning, honorable members and colleagues. Our presentation starts at this slide number 2, just to indicate that we do have 37 ordinary bills that are currently before committees in NA, and we divide them into 2 groups. Section 75, we have 10, and then section 76, we have 27. And of these bills, we have 5 of them are private members' bills. We also want to indicate that other matters before committees, we do have 10 and about 4 petitions. We do anticipate 2 budget instruments to be processed during this term. We will talk to that in the next slides. The next slide. Yeah, on this slide, we just indicate that the South African Reserve Bank Amendment Bill is currently before Standing Committee on Finance. The last activity on this bill was on the 16th of March 2021, when deliberations were done. The bill has been with the committee for quite some time, since 2019, as it can be seen. The next slide. It is the Electoral Laws Second Amendment Bill before PC on Home Affairs. This matter has just been referred to during the earlier deliberations. The committee received briefings from the Minister Advisory Committee on this matter, and the bill has now been referred. It will be processed in due course. The next slide. It is the International Crimes Bill before PC on Justice and Correctional Services. The bill has been with the committee since 2019. The committee prioritized other bills, as it can be seen here, the gender-based violence related bills. The committee still to schedule activities on this bill. The next slide. It is the National Field and Forest Fire Amendment Bill before PC on Environmental Affairs and Forestry. The bill has been referred in December. The committee will still have to schedule this bill. The next slide. It is the Protection of State Information Bill before PC on Justice and Correctional Services. The bill has been referred on the 9th of March 2021. The committee requested not to process the bill pending consultation regarding the appropriate committee to deal with this bill. The next slide. That is the Land Court Bill before PC on Justice and Correctional Services. The last activity on this bill was in August when the committee made adverts for public submissions. The committee is planning to proceed with the bill during this term. The next slide, State Liability Amendment Bill before PC on Justice and Correctional Services. The bill has been with the committee since October 2019. The last activity was in 26 January 2021. The committee is planning to schedule the further activities to this current year. The next slide, the Prevention of Hate Crimes and Hate Speech Bill before PC on Justice and Correctional Services. The bill has been with the committee since 2019. The committee had the briefings in August 2021, and the committee is planning further activities this current year. The next slide is Cannabis for Private Purposes Bill before PC on Justice and Correctional Services. The bill has been with the committee since 2020, but the committee has made much progress. The deliberations and adoption of the committee report was planned for the 8th of December, but the committee has revised the date for the first quarter this current year. The next slide, it is Traditional Courts Bill before PC on Justice and Correctional Services. The bill has been with the committee since December 2020. The last activity were deliberations in September 2021, and also the date to adopt the bill was revised in November. The committee still to finalize the date for the adoption. The next slide, it is the Standing Committee on Finance. It is the fiscal framework which is anticipated to be tabled during the budget speech on the 23rd of February. The committee has already developed a program. We are presenting this program because the processing of this budget instrument has an impact on parliamentary program. So the committee is planning to have briefings, public hearings, response by the minister, and also the adoption on the 8th of March 2022. And the aim is to finish it on the 9th. The next slide, it is the Division of Revenue, the 2022 Division of Revenue, which will be referred to the committee after the adoption of the fiscal framework on the 9th of March. The committee has already developed the program, and dates for the briefings and also public hearings are on this slide. The committee is planning to finalize the bill on the 22nd of March, and we believe the House will put this in the program so that it can open up the processing of the appropriation bill. Next slide. It is the Gas Amendment Bill before PC on Mineral Resources and Energy. Currently, the committee has now developed a program. Next week, the committee will be in Eastern Cape with public hearings. The following week, the committee will be in Western Cape. The week that follows will be in Northern Cape. And the last week of January, the committee will be in Free State. All logistics have been confirmed, Madam Speaker. The next slide. That is the Copyright Amendment Bill before PC on Trade and Industry. The committee had deliberations during the month of November and December. The plan is to finalize this bill during this first quarter. The next slide, it is Performance Protection Amendment Bill before PC on Trade and Industry. The committee postponed the finalization of the bill in August to give the department sufficient time to respond. The new date will be decided this quarter. The next slide, Disaster Management Act Amendment Bill before PC on COCTA. The last activity was on the 7th of September when there was a stakeholder engagement, further activities to be scheduled. The next slide, it's Local Government Municipal Systems Amendment Bill, which has been returned from the NCOP. The NCOP finalized this matter on the 7th of December. The committee will look into looking into the proposed amendment during this term. The next slide is Public Finance Management Amendment Bill before Standing Committee on Finance. The bill has been with the committee since November 2019. It is one of those bills that are not moving. The next slide, Fiscal Responsibility Bill before Standing Committee on Finance. The committee has done the deliberations, the public hearings, but the committee decided not to continue with the bill since it's a private member's bill who has resigned from Parliament. The next slide, that is National Health Insurance Bill before PC on Health. The committee is planning further deliberations and also the departmental response on the 23rd of February, and also further deliberations, adoption of the report by the 1st of April this year. The next slide. It is the Housing Consumer Protection Bill before PC on Human Settlements. The committee is planning public hearings in various provinces, Eastern Cape, Free State, Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, Mpumalanga, Northern Cape, Northwest, and Western Cape, with all the dates indicated, Madam Speaker. The next slide, it is the Upstream Petroleum Resources Development Bill before PC on Mineral Resources and Energy. The committee, the bill has been referred to the National Household Traditional Leaders for inputs, and the committee is planning further meetings during this current year. Next slide. Agricultural Product Agent Amendment Bill before PC on Agriculture, Land Reform, and Rural Development. The committee is planning further briefings on the 8th, the 15th, and the 22nd of March this year. Next slide. It's Economic Regulation of Transport Bill before PC on Transport. The committee is planning considerations during the 15th of February, and also further submission to consider further submissions the 22nd, and the aim is to finalize this bill by the 8th of March. Next slide. That is a Road Traffic Amendment Bill, National Road Traffic Amendment Bill before PC on Transport. The committee is planning deliberations on the 25th of January, and also to consider proposed amendments with the aim to do clause by clause and finalize the report by the 1st of March. The next slide. It is the Preservation and Development of Agricultural Land Bill before PC on Agriculture, Land Reform, and Rural Development. The bill has been with the committee since April 2021. It's one of those bills that are not moving. The next slide. Railway safety bill before PC on transport. The committee is planning public hearings the 22nd of March and responses by the department on those submissions by the 29th of March. The next slide. It is expropriation bill before PC on public works and infrastructure. The committee has completed public hearings in various provinces, and on the 23rd of February, it will consider the responses to public submissions, and also during March, deal with close by close deliberations with the aim to finalize the bill on the 30th of March. The next slide. Transport Appeal Tribunal Amendment Bill before PC on transport. The committee had briefings in August, and the request for public submissions deadline has been October the 8th. So the committee will schedule further activities. The next slide, Public Finance Management Amendment Bill, which is a private member's bill, is before the Standing Committee on Finance and has been with the committee since July 2020. It's one of the bills that are not moving. The next slide, Children's Amendment Bill before PC on social development. The committee has finalized the public hearings in various provinces, and the committee is now planning briefings by the stakeholders with the dates indicated there, and the aim is to finalize the bill on the 30th of March 2022. Next slide. It is the Fundraising Amendment Bill before PC on social development. The bill has been with the committee since October 2020, and the last activity was the briefing by the department on the 2nd of June 2021. It's one of those bills that are moving very slowly. Animals Protection Bill before PC on agriculture, land reform and rural development. The bill has been with the committee since February 2021. The committee has not yet scheduled any activities, but the plan is to deal with the bill this current year. Next slide. Plant Health Phytosanitary Bill. The bill is before PC on agriculture, land reform and rural development. The bill has been with the committee since July. The committee is planning briefings this current year. The next slide. It is Agricultural Product Standards Amendment Bill before PC on agriculture, land reform and rural development. The bill has been referred in August. The committee is planning to have briefings this current year. The next slide, it's National Environmental Laws Amendment Bill before PC on environmental affairs and forestry. The bill has been referred during December on the 14th. The committee is to schedule this bill. Next slide. That is the Basic Education Laws Amendment Bill before PC on basic education. The bill has been referred in January this year. The committee is to schedule. The next slide. That is Public Administration Laws General Amendment Bill. The bill is before PC on public services and administration. The bill has been referred in August. The committee is planning to schedule the activities for 2022. What follows is other matters. The National Land Transport Amendment Bill before PC on transport. The bill has been referred in September. The committee is planning briefings by the department on the 22nd of February. The next slide. The statutory appointments, which is the filling of vacancies for SABC board before PC on communication. The committee has done the interviews. What is left is to finalize the interview results. The committee is to schedule this current year. The next slide. It is also the statutory appointments before PC on communication, that is MDDA board. The committee has also done the interviews of the candidates and also done the deliberation. What is left is to finalize the report. The next slide. It is also the statutory appointments before PC on communications. That is the filling of vacancies for ICASA. The committee has done the interviews. What is left is to finalize the interview result. Next slide.
Honorable Tau, sorry for interrupting you. I just want you to take note of the fact that we also have a programming committee meeting, which starts immediately after this, a joint committee which starts immediately after this. Will you please be quicker? Because our agenda is long. Thank you. Mr. Tau.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On this slide, it is the Central Drug Authority statutory appointments before PC on social development. The committee is still to schedule. Next slide. And this slide, it is the filling of vacancies for Public Service Commission. The committee is planning deliberations and finalization 23rd of February. The next slide. It is the matter before joint committees, PC on agriculture and also employment and labor. The committees are planning to consider the report on the living conditions of farm workers by the 26th of February. The committee is developing the program. The next slide. This matter on Committee on Section 194 has been put on hold until further notice. The next slide. The matter before PC on police with regard to inquiry into violence and looting. The committee has considered the terms of reference, further activities to follow. Next slide. The matter before PC on COCTA, that is salary determination. The committee is to schedule. The next slide. It is petitions. The PC on Justice and Correctional Services is to consider the matter of Judge President Hlophe. The committee deliberations in December. The matter will further be deliberated this year. Next slide. The PC on small business development is looking into a petition regarding the dispute between Telecom and OpenServe.
Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Singh.
Honorable Speaker, I'm sorry to intervene like this, but perhaps just following on what you said, we should note all the petitions. But I think what is more important for us here is there are a number of bills that have been outstanding for more than a year. And perhaps, you know, those need to be flagged so we can see what kind of attention needs to be given. And I'm sure Mr. Frolick is on top of this because he's responsible to meet the chairs of committees. But it would seem from this list here that we did nothing last year, you know. So I think there must be another format where we receive this information, and perhaps House Chair Frolick can assist in that regard. Thank you.
Committee immediately after this, we just have to find a way of summarizing your report. You talk to the salient, the most important, and the long overdue bills which are on the program, and not everything which is a bill which is currently before committees. I think Honorable Singh is correct. We need to devise other means of presenting this particular item to the programming committee, because as it currently stands, it does not take into consideration that, honorable members, have other engagements beyond the meeting of the programming committee. So if you can now jump and just, I think we're left with about 3 or 4 slides. Just summarize those slides quickly, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Because there are no updates on the remaining slides, let me conclude the presentation at this point because members have the documents. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mr. Tau. Honorable members, that was the report of the bills committee section, and following this, we will really find other ways of presenting these issues to you. I see that Honorable Shivambu has his hand up. Honorable Shivambu.
No, thanks, Speaker. I wanted to inquire about the statutory appointments of the National Electors Board, because there were interviews that were conducted and concluded by the Portfolio Committee on Trade and Industry. And that was ATC'd to be processed in Parliament. I think it's more than a year now and it has not been processed in terms of what happened. So I wanted to inquire specifically about that so that we know what is happening, because certain names were recommended and all of those things, and that there has to be finalization by Parliament before the issue is closed.
Thank you, Honorable Shivambu. Mr. Dawood, do you have a report on that matter?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is not part of our report. We will note it, and in the next meeting, we'll provide the report as to where the process is. Thank you.
Honorable, Mr. Kaso, do you have information on this matter?
Yes, Madam Speaker. The report of the committee was under further business at the time we adjourned last year, and therefore it lapsed. So if there is a decision to deal with the matter, the report would need to be revived by House resolution. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. There's the report. Are there any comments on the report? I suggest we don't. If it is possible, if it was under further business and it lapsed, I think all we need to do is to get the report out and take the process forward. I see you still have your hand on a Shivambu.
No, thanks. In terms of the legislation that has been long abandoned, like the South African Reserve Bank Amendment Bill, I think we must take a resolution that these bills that have not been attended to for the entirety of last year or early last year should be prioritized now by all the committees that are dealing with them. It must be prioritized by all the committees that are dealing with them so that we're able to finalize on them. We can't have public hearings and process the bill and then it is not then finalized in the ultimate end.
Thank you very much, Honorable Shivambu. I'm sure we all agree with you. Honorable members, I suggest that we all agree with the proposal presented so that the work which has been done in the past couple of years related to some of these is not flushed down the drain. So we do support you. Honorable members, are there any other comments on the work of committees? Okay, if there are none, we then proceed to deal with the report by the Bills Committee Office. I recognize Mr. Bill. Mr. Bill, I want to make a plea to you that you seriously consider what I raised earlier on with Mr. Tau about how we present our work at this meeting of the Programming Committee. Thank you very much.
Certainly, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much. In the interest of time, I'll just fill in what I think I can add to the committee section report. Firstly, what you don't see on this screen is a few items under paragraph A. There were 3 bills on the order paper that lapsed at the end of last year. Two were private members' bills. I think the National Health Amendment Bill was from Dr. Tim McQuayle. And then there was an ease of doing business bill from Mr. Creer. Secondly, Madam Speaker, the item under paragraph B is the National Gambling Amendment Bill, which was rejected in the NCOP on 14 December, and it now stands to be referred to the Mediation Committee in terms of Joint Rule 186 1A. Secondly, Madam Speaker, I've highlighted under paragraph C the three bills that have been amended in NCOP and have therefore been returned for concurrence to your House. At the end of paragraph C, you will find that I've highlighted four bills that have been introduced since this committee last met, probably most importantly, including the Electoral Amendment Bill number 1 of 2022. What you won't see here is that we are in the process of doing three new bills with a view to introduction. The one deals with marine pollution, prevention of pollution from ships, and the other one deals with the financial insurance levies. Lastly, Madam Speaker, we are putting in place a program to deal with the introduction of the Division of Revenue Bill and the Appropriation Bill on Budget Day on the 23rd of February. I think that's it for now. Thank you very much.
Okay. Honorable members, there's the report of the bills. I'll propose that we note the report. And if there's any engagement on the matters, we then deal with them at the next meeting. I'm doing so, and I'm proposing this, honorable members, because there is a matter which has been proposed for discussion here, which is the fire on the 2nd of January. And I expect that there may be a longish debate on the matter, even though the matter has been presented to the chief whips and leaders of political parties who have been available to attend some of the meetings we've convened in the past week. Is that agreed, honorable members, that we note this report?
Yes, Speaker, is Mkalipi?
Yes, Honorable Mkalipi.
No, let us note the report, Speaker, but I just want to ask this platform that we need a comprehensive report on apartheid laws that are in the process of being repealed. Remember, Speaker, this is an old matter, and it seems as if you are not making any progress on this regard, Madam Speaker. On the next meeting, can we get an updated report in this regard? Thanks, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mkalipi. I am sure the members of the team from the Bill's office have noted the request by Honorable Mkalipi, and that next week we will then receive at the meeting that we will start with that item on our agenda, that we will receive a report on that matter. Is that agreed, Mr. Bell from the Bills Committee?
Madam Speaker, yes, I will certainly convey it to the office that's dealing with that matter at the moment. I think it's either the table or the Legal Services Office. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Mr. Kaso, you've noted the proposal, and I'm sure Adi you've noted. So that is the request, and that a report will be presented, will be prepared and presented at our next meeting. Honorable members, allow me to proceed. And before we deal with the issue of consideration of the draft parliamentary program, I want to request that the Honorable Deputy Speaker presides, takes over from here. and that I will, honorable members, take through the members on the matter raised by Honorable Kalipi on the fire. In that case, in other words, I'm raising an amendment to the agenda so that I deal with the matter now. My sincere apologies for that, honorable members. I am chairing this meeting from the airport because my flight is at 10 to 10 and I will be embarking very soon. So I would like to take these matters, this item through myself, and then Honorable Frolic, who is here and who has been part of all the presiding officers' meetings, will then clarify some of the issues where there's no clarity and respond to questions which will be raised by honorable members. Is that agreed, honorable members? Okay.
Yes,
this means consent, honorable members. Honorable members, I will briefly talk to some of the developments. Nothing new, honorable members. We have presented to the Chief Whips Forum. We've also presented to...
Madam Speaker, my apologies, deep apologies. Because this is an update on as requested, I thought we would rather do it when we are together with the NCOP. It doesn't only affect the NA, so I think such an update would be useful to the rest of the, in the joint meeting. Wouldn't that be a useful way to use the limited time we have? I'm just asking.
It would have been appropriate. I wish you had raised it when we were amending the agenda, though, when it was raised by Honorable Kalipi. But nonetheless, honorable members, if you do agree with the proposal made, which is a plausible one by the Deputy Speaker, I then propose that we deal with this matter in the joint meeting. Is that agreed, honorable members? I would like to be assured that people agree.
Agreed, Speaker.
Thank you very much, honorable members. In that case, the Honorable Frolic will take the members, will make that presentation at the meeting, because the Honorable Frolic has been with me throughout this process, has been with us at meetings of where we've presented to political parties, and the Chief Whips has been in meetings where we've been engaging with the executive management of Parliament. But also just to say that I hope he will be able to also go through the issue of the alternative accommodation venue, which we have prepared for SONA, and what we have done so far, and beyond the SONA, the presentation of the budget and the work of Parliament as a whole. And honorable member will be able to take you through all of those matters, honorable members. But honorable Frolic, one of the issues I would like you to talk to is the issue which we discussed yesterday, which is that of the three different reports: the March 16th fire, the ocean report, and the BDO report. BDO, which is a DPWI commissioned inquiry, and the OSH report, which was commissioned by the Secretary of Parliament. She is also here. She will be able to talk to that. And the fact that the March 16th report and the findings were findings of the South African Police Services. On that note, honorable members, I'm just highlighting some of those things which should not be left out in the presentation. I now request that I take leave, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, President, and thank you, Honorable.
Yeah. Can we request that the program be presented quickly, highlights, without going into details?
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Good morning, honorable members and colleagues. Blossom 2022 compliments. Having late last year endorsed the framework, I would not talk to it as directed by the chair of the meeting, Deputy Speaker, but I will start on week 1 of 2022. And you will, honorable members and colleagues, observe that deferment of members' training due to recent unfortunates has been removed. Let's go then to week 1. Please, thank you. And week 1 is, I will start with today, which is the programming committee, which is Thursday, which is our normal programming committee and the joint programming committee. Of course, it must be noted it's still during our constituent period. On next Monday, which is week 1, we still constituent period onwards, and then the committees that have prioritized their work, which have requested to start early, will start also doing their work. Worth noting on Wednesday, which is the Chief Whips Forum, which is a closed meeting, which is our normal meeting that starts at 10 o'clock and then followed by the programming committee and caucus for those political parties that's deemed to have their political caucuses. And let's go to week 3. I request that we go to week 3. Thanks very much. Still the same as the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is a committee week, including Monday, which is very important. That is a constituted day. Thursday is a joint sitting, which is a hybrid one. Monday, you note that is a 10th, which is a SONA, very important day, which will be held at Cape Town City Hall. And Friday will be committee day. Let's go to week 4, please. Week 4, which is 14 February, is a joint sitting, which will be a debate on President's State of the Nation address, which will be held still at the city of Cape Town. And on Tuesday, the same. On Wednesday, it will be committees in the morning, which then will be populated in terms of which committees will sit on Wednesday, and then on 10, followed by the Chief Whips Forum, which is a closed meeting. And in the noon, which is 14 hours, a joint sitting, still continuation of the president, which will be the reply to the 2 days responses to the SONA, which will be held at the City Hall in Cape Town. On Thursdays, the programming committee in the morning and the caucus as usual, which is more of a standard activities. And on Friday, normal committee day, those committees which will be scheduled to meet on Monday on Fridays. Then we'll go to week 5, honorable members. I won't talk to Mondays now. I'll just go quickly to the following day, which will be Tuesdays, committee days and plenary, which will be a hybrid plenary sittings, which will deal with the legislations and committee reports, which will be populated in terms of which legislations and committee reports that will be dealt on that day. On Wednesday would be committees in the morning and Chief Whips Forum, which is a closed meeting. And on afternoon would be a hybrid plenary sitting, which will be dealing with the appropriation bill and tabling of division of revenue bill. On Thursday, programming meeting and caucuses, and in the noon then will be a plenary, which will be dealing with noting condolences for our late, may his soul rest in peace, Mr. Dumankosi, and committee reports as usual. On Friday, the committees, as I said earlier on, that it will be populated in terms of which committees, but it's still time to do that. And week 6, I will go to Tuesday without mentioning the committees, but to the hybrid plenary sitting that would be member statements and legislations, which are ready to be put before the House, and committee reports and motions without notice and notices of motion. On Wednesdays is committees and the Chief Whips Forum, which is a closed meeting, and then a plenary meeting, 15 hours, which will be the oral report, cluster 1, peace and stability, questions for oral replies. On Thursday will be programming committee meeting and multi-party women's caucus meeting, and mini plenaries in the noon, which will be a virtual sitting. And here you'll note that now we have started to deal with the mini plenaries as promised. And the actual program then will be provided in the due course. And on Friday, committees as usual, and then week 7. And I will just quickly go to the to the afternoon, which is a hybrid sitting of which will be members' statements and legislation and committees and motions without motions and notices of motion. Why I'm repeating this is important that we note that one so that we can be well prepared, honorable members. On Wednesday, committees and chief whips forum, and then followed by plenary, which will be social services cluster 2, questions for oral reply. On Thursday, programming committee caucus for various political parties and hybrid plenary sitting dealing with the legislations, which would have been finalized, and committee reports that will be before the House for processing. Week 8, same in terms of Tuesdays, and 14 hours is the hybrid sitting. Member statements, legislations, and motions without, which is still the same as I repeated above, Chair. If I may then go to Wednesday, I will go quickly to 15 hours hybrid plenary sitting, which will be governance cluster 3, oral questions for oral reply. On Thursday, programming committee caucus and mini plenaries then will resume at 14 hours. Week 9, committees on morning, which is Tuesday. I'm dealing with. I'm at 22 March 2022. Afternoon hybrid plenary, member statements, legislation, and motions without motions without notice and notices of motion, as usual. And then we'll go to Wednesday. I'll only talk to the hybrid plenary sittings, which will be cluster 4 economics, questions for oral reply. And on Thursday, the usual one in the morning, which is the programming committee meeting and caucuses for various political parties, and 14 hours hybrid sitting dealing, processing legislations and committee reports. May we go to week, yes. That will be week 10. That would be then the start, which is 29th March, constituent period and oversight period for committees that would have booked and applied for oversights. And then on Thursday, the 31st of March, I'm leaving the 30th of March, Wednesday, because that one it's a standard one, which is a Chief Whips Forum. But on Thursday, then will be multi-party women's caucus and committees and oversight. Those committees will be going for oversight until the end of March, and between March and April. Other than that, then the NA in April to the 14th, as I said earlier on, that will be a constituent period. Other than that, we will then next week then populate other items in terms of the specific, in terms of the sitting of other plenaries and mini plenaries when we're ready. Thank you very much. I will take questions if there are, and Mr. Council will assist when necessary. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Much appreciated. Something is wrong with your filters there. Yeah, okay. I thought that we would want to get comments. I see Honorable Swart.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Just very briefly, the budget speech scheduled for, I think, the 23rd of February. Could we get feedback at our next meeting as to the lockup provisions which are normally required for the budget? There would obviously, that's going to take place in the Good Hope Chamber, but the budget speech, but there must be provision for lockup. Maybe another venue, M46 or something like that, can be considered. Thank you so much, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Machotina.
Thank you very much.
Akania, welcome today.
Never, cause for life. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Honorable Deputy Speaker, in welcoming the program for Parliament, I want to confirm and affirm the program that whilst the situation around Parliament is devastating on the burning of Parliament, be that as may, we are still going to be focused in doing our parliamentary work, because Parliament is not about the building, the physical building. Therefore, I'm happy that we are going to not to be deterred by anything. We'll continue to do our work. Committees will be sitting, and this meeting is really assisting to affirm that Parliament will still go ahead with all the programs that we adopted. So today's meeting also confirmed that there's a clear plan on all the meetings of Parliament that are supposed to take place. The engine rooms, which are portfolio and select committees, are still going to go ahead. Thank you very much. I move for acceptance of this draft program. The only thing that we have to include is the debate on human rights. That debate in March becomes very important as we also make evaluation of all these years of democracy. How far are we in terms of human rights? Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, ma'am. Honorable members, I would also like to appeal to all of us that in the NA side of the program, what we do not have in there, and this is, I'll take responsibility for that we will discuss with the programming whip and the rest of you, so that we, as usual, at the beginning of each year, we make provision for training. This is crucial. There are certain significant things that we need to prioritize in our training programs. So there's a space that we will talk to in the program and negotiate for time for members during the period on which we will talk to the training needs of members. And how long it takes will also be significant. We'll come back to you, hopefully during the course of this week, to make sure that we do that. Thank you, Chief Whip. I think your comments are spot on. The buildings are significant, but they are not the only reason Parliament exists. In fact, we as people constitute what works and so on. So it's crucial that we remember that, and the programming committee outlines a program to do that. Honorable Singh.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Speaker. I cannot agree with you more on the question of training, because there are a number of items, from other committees that we schedule for January. But I might have missed, because I have to just step out for a second, issues of President and Deputy President's questions on the program. If it's there, that's fine. If it's not there, can that be attended to? Thank you.
Okay, all right. Honorable Soma, are you able to respond to that? Work in progress.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Let me take that the points that has been raised by the Chief Whip of the Majority Party and also Honorable Singh will take note of that, and also as well as your point. Safe to say that in terms of members' training, it was there initially, but because of the unfortunate that happens in the precinct of Parliament, then we felt that we need to apply our minds in terms of the venues and other logistics that need to be taken care of. Other than that, is noted and welcomed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ungakhohlwa virtual. So it's important to remember that these things do take place virtually now, such as we do hybrid systems. Thank you, Honorable Soma. Honorable members, unless any of you has an earth-shattering, Honorable Spiwe Gwahube. I almost skipped.
No. Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I didn't hear Ms. Lasoma's response to Honorable Singh's question. because of course the quarterly requirement for the president, the deputy president's questions. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I thought she okay, let me give Honorable Ndade Klaso.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just needed to indicate that as soon as we get the dates, we will reflect them on the program. At this point, we do not have the dates.
From the president and the deputy president.
That's right.
Yeah, I thought that this is why I refer to it as work in progress. Usually, we collaborate ourselves as Parliament with the presidency for dates and so on. So thank you very much. So that's we await. As soon as we get that, the next week might be one of those during which we may be able to report. But thank you very much. Is there any announcement? Anything outstanding that we must refer to? Honorable members are aware that the meeting, the joint...
the Deputy Speaker.
Yes?
There is an issue which was raised by Honorable Mkalipi that has to be included in the program. I'm not sure if you're closing the meeting now.
Which one?
Because there's the issue on an update on what happened in Parliament, because this is a first official meeting of the programming committee in terms of where it said that there must be an appraisal of what has transpired and what is the way forward, so that we're able to then give a clearer perspective. That agenda item was included in this meeting. So let's deal with it.
Yes, let's say this to you, Honorable Shibamo. We agree that because this is a cross-cutting issue, that it involves the NCOP as well. The Speaker, in closing here, accepted a recommendation I made that perhaps we should have such an update when we are sitting together, and pointed out the areas that she feels when we do take that issue. There are certain areas that Honorable Frolik, who has been with her in meetings, will be able to put on the table. So it is on the agenda, but we agreed to shift it to the next to the 10:30 program. So when we start that meeting, we will ensure that we'll propose that the update is recommended, so that all of us as Parliament, not just as NA, but as NA and NCOP, receive such update. So that's as I understand it, agreed to do. So we didn't just ignore it. Honorable Singh?
Yeah, Deputy Speaker, just one point. I think at the very earliest, we need administration to come up with physical capacity of both of the venues that we are going to be using for SONA and for the normal sittings at Good Hope Chamber, because our members need to prepare, depending on how many members will be allowed physically in those venues. So if we can get that information sooner rather than later, it'll assist all of us.
Yeah, it does sound like part of the update. We have communicated to the authorities, administration, to do an audit of what's available, what's not completely available, what damage was done. For example, some members in their offices kept important personal documents, including family documents that may need replacement and so on. So we need an audit to get a sense of who has been affected negatively. That will be part of the update on what that it is on the agenda for assessment and for reporting back to us the earliest. Okay. Any other comment?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Singh. All right. If there isn't any announcement, honorable members, let's reconnect at 10:30. In other words, in the next 45 minutes. So let's take a break and reconnect. Thank you very much. I suppose we'll use the same connection.
Deputy Speaker, the link is different.
No, there's a different link. Different link it was sent. Yeah, different link.
Masbulele class. Awusi chief whip better again to Guzam. Yeah.
Thanks. It's a different link. We'll forward the link to you. DS.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah. All right. Okay, let's reconnect then later. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, DS.
Recording stopped.
Yeah. Thank you.